Today on Beyond 6 Seconds.
If we are authentic and we are truly who we are, and we come at the world with our best, then we are going to give more than we could ever even know. And I'm okay if that means being the bossy girl.
Welcome to Beyond 6 Seconds, the podcast that goes beyond the 6-second first impression to share the extraordinary stories and achievements of everyday people. I'm your host, Carolyn Keel. My guest on today's podcast is Kristal Murren. As the president of Bossy Girl Leadership, Kristal is developing healthy organizations of the future. Being a part of the Bossy Girl experience encompasses a belief that future success requires healthy organizations and healthy leaders that are willing to predict their own future by creating it. She has over a decade of experience in leading leaders, cultivating cultures, and training trainers. One day in 2016, Kristal's successful career was suddenly interrupted by a car accident that turned her life upside down. She's going to tell us more about that experience and how she built her business and reshaped her life in the aftermath. Kristal, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Carolyn.
Tell me about your leadership development work that you were doing before the accident. And during that time, where did you see your career heading?
Sure. Well, it's funny that you asked that. I have to tell you, and it seems unreal and unbelievable, but when I was 4 years old, I told my mom that I was going to be an inspirational speaker when I grew up.
Wow.
Not a princess, not a veterinarian. I was going to be an inspirational speaker. So my entire life has really led in the direction that I'm going right now. I built my career in a large government agency of 17,000 employees. I walked around this organization and I saw that there was a great need for somebody to make a difference, to bring these people to life, for them to understand that there could be more to this situation than just the everyday, I have to go to work and count the days until I retire. Mm-hmm. So I started a leadership development institute where I built leaders that made a difference in organizations. I developed a reputation for myself where people saw that I could change perspectives. Mm-hmm. And what happened is people started to seek me out. And I always had this entrepreneurial spirit. I always wanted to do this for myself. But at that point, I was a divorced single mom. Mm-hmm. I had a beautiful little girl, a lot to lose and a lot to protect. So to think of starting my own business, even though I had created a reputation for myself and organizations were seeking me out, to think about going out on my own without a paycheck, without benefits, seemed absolutely impossible. Mm-hmm. So I actually joined another organization and built a successful division that did consulting work for organizations, growing leadership, improving communication, and looking at the root causes of issues in organizational cultures and then growing those. Wow. So that's what I was doing when the accident happened.
I see. Now, could you tell us a little bit about the accident and how that changed things for you?
Absolutely. So what happened is basically I was raising my daughter. I had a successful career doing what I loved and what I was made to do. I still wasn't developing my own business at this point, but I was very happy. I worked for an incredible organization that did great things. And I got up for work in the morning. I took a shower. I got in my car. I started driving to work like I do every single day. I was stopped in traffic on the highway, just like everyone else around me. And there was a truck behind me that apparently did not see that traffic was stopped. Oh. And hit me from behind at 55 miles an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. And it's funny, there are so many miracles that happen in these moments. It's unbelievable, but I never saw him coming. Mm-hmm. So I didn't respond by tensing up. The only thing that really happened to me in that moment is I was completely shocked. Mm-hmm. The pressure of the glass breaking had cut through the back of my hair. Everything in the car was shattered. And it was amazing because really the only thing left standing that was untouched was the area around my seat. Wow. In the car. I was so grateful that day that I had taken my daughter to school. Because what happened is when he hit me from behind, he sandwiched me into the car in front of me. So my car was destroyed in every way. Wow. And literally it was as if there was an angel sitting in that seat with me, protecting the area around me. I wasn't bleeding, like I said, other than just some cuts on the back of my head. And when I got out of the car, I couldn't really speak. But it seemed that that was just shock. I was shaking a lot. I was taken to a doctor and they gave me some heavy strength ibuprofen, said I would be sore. I had neck and back pain.
Right.
And I didn't know who the president was. I couldn't really tell you anything about my parents. I knew who my daughter was and that kind of stuff. They asked me those kinds of questions, but I appeared to be fine. What happened over the next few days is I lost the ability to emote. I couldn't feel sad. I couldn't feel happy. I couldn't feel angry. I also lost the ability to recognize things. So I would see a chair and I would know you sit on it and I know it goes at a table, but I wouldn't know what it was called. And then I was starting to lose consciousness.
Wow.
So I would go out to walk my dog and I would lose consciousness out in the snow or lose consciousness and fall down the steps. So there was clearly a problem. And what happened was I was diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury and my life forever changed. I lost most of my memories of what had happened before that point in time. And I still have not recovered most of the memories that I have from the time of the accident until about 6 months ago.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. So having this major change in the way you were thinking and feeling and speaking, how did that impact the rest of your life in the following months?
Well, after the accident, literally everything went dark. Nothing was the same as I had ever known it before. All of the gifts that I had always had, things like my ability to speak and influence others, my ability to connect deeply with people, that was all lost. When you have no emotion, you have no connection. When you have a stutter and you can't remember what words are, all of that is now gone, all of those gifts. And what happened was I'm somebody who pushes towards goals. That's just who I am as a person. And when I would go to the doctor, I would be given advice like, Kristal, you'll be better when you're better. And my question would be, what does that mean?
Right.
What does that mean? How do I fix this? What do I do? And there was no answer.
Wow.
The only answer was, you will be better when you're better. And when you stop pushing, you'll heal more quickly. So the prescription, if you will, was for me to sit in my bedroom with the curtains closed in the dark, no reading, no writing, no television, no telephone. Imagine no smartphone for months at a time. It's very difficult to think about what your life could be. I wasn't allowed to drive. And again, single mom with a daughter.
Right.
How do you get groceries?
Yep.
The overstimulation of being able to even make decisions at the grocery store. You don't realize how many colors there are and options there are. And I would literally go unconscious in the parking lot if I would try to push to that level of being able to go grocery shopping. So life went dark and I was a mover and a shaker. And all of a sudden, all I could do was sit. And people just said, just stay put, just don't do anything. And I would say, but how would you do that? I don't understand what that even means.
Right.
There was no surgery that could fix me. And I realized at that point that my recovery was all in my own hands and it was my power to take back. And truly, what happened during this time was a great deal of self-reflection, a great deal of power in my faith, because I spent so much time alone. What happened was I got the opportunity and the gift to know that I was made for a reason and that I was kept here on this earth for a reason and that I had something I was supposed to do. And what happened in that moment, and I truly believe it was a miracle, I got the nudge that said, it's time. It's time for you to do what you've always wanted to do, to make the difference you've always wanted to have. And it's time to build your own business. And in that moment, that was the goal I was fighting for. Besides being able to be the mom that I had known I need to be, I had a goal in that darkness.
So in your recovery, it sounded like you were dramatically changing a core part of your personality, where you're going from being very goal-driven and focusing on how do I fix things now, to really being in a place where you had to put that aside and take the time to heal just by sitting and reflecting. Do you feel like that experience changed maybe not your personality, but your approach to life? And did you carry that new approach into creating your own business?
Absolutely. It changed everything about who I am. And it's amazing because I am a highly emotional, extroverted, feeling person.
Mm-hmm.
And through this accident, those things were not really available to me.
Mm-hmm.
And through the recovery, I should say, they were not available to me. So what happened was I became much more analytical. I became much more logical. I had to, in all of my therapy, develop tools that helped me to go from one step to the next because I couldn't just rely on my brain for multitasking. I had to have tools. And what happened was, in the end, what my strengths and gifts were started to really come back. And I started to see that sparkle in me again, and others started to see that sparkle in me again. But now I had tools to build a business that understood start at step one, then move to step two, and the analytical ability to go deeper and to look harder at things than just that surface level. It also changed perspective in that people could look at me and say, you know, before you told me that you believed in me, you told me I could do more, you told me I could do the hard things. But now I've proven that I'm willing to eat my own cooking.
Mm-hmm.
In the darkest moments, I'm willing to be positive and choose life, choose happiness, choose the good. Choose to see the good in people, choose to see the good in situations. There would have been no one, even 6 months ago, that would have blamed me for quitting.
Right.
No one. But I would have never done that. It's not an option for me. And I don't believe that it should be an option for anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can take that into life and say, I've been there. I didn't quit. Don't you quit. I know that your boss might be challenging. I know that your job is hard. I know this isn't maybe your purpose and what you were meant for right in this moment, but you can find it and you don't have to quit.
Mm-hmm.
You can go further. You can do more. I've done it. And for some reason, those words hold more power when people can see the ability in someone else to literally walk through hell. And instead of letting that beat you, you start taking notes, walking through hell, taking notes and saying, all right, I learned this. All right, now I have to do that. There are so many gifts in that process of being at the bottom. And if you can demonstrate that you can do that, it really makes a difference for other people.
Wow. You know, it's one thing to talk the talk, but certainly to walk the walk is something else. And I think having you as that coach and really being able to role model it because you overcame such a great challenge. And I love your phrase about walking through hell and taking notes. And I think it's part of the self-reflection that you did when you were really in that hell is you were taking notes and being introspective and trying to learn from your experience and just learn to grow this whole other area of your personality. I'm curious, besides spending time on your own and quiet reflection, were there other parts of your therapy that helped you develop that more analytical side of your personality?
I think I would say yes to that. I was in every kind of therapy that I could find. Anything anyone would give me, I would take it. Mm-hmm. I was in speech therapy, physical therapy, I was in cognitive therapy. I decided to change my lifestyle and adopt a completely clean way of eating, working out every day. And I believe all of those things create a discipline in someone. And I did that. But probably, you know, what changed me the most and what reconnected me to who I was, and now this isn't getting at the more analytical side of me, but what I was fighting for at this point was to get back to being able to feel again. And what happened was, as I went through this accident, I had no paycheck, nothing. And there were challenges with car insurance and all that kind of stuff, but I had no money.
Wow.
And unbelievably, every time I would go to the mailbox, there would be a check in the mailbox. And I would get letters that would say, you changed my marriage because of what you did with my wife. And because of that, I couldn't know that you were suffering and not help you. Here's $1,000.
Wow.
And every time I went to the mailbox, there was something. I had no idea how I was going to make it. Mm-hmm. And I made it because I had given my life and my heart to other people in the past, and they weren't going to let me fall down now. Even people I had never even met were saying, you made this difference to my wife, or you made this difference in my family. And I heard about your situation and I needed to do something for you. And I would think, how did they even get my address?
Wow.
But the good you do in the world does come back, and people will not let you down if they know that you're giving your best and trying with all you can to get through those hard times.
Wow, that's incredible. We always hope that that will happen when we give and give, that it will come back around to us in our greatest moment of need. And it's just wonderful to hear that somehow the universe and the cosmos brought that support to you in a time where you didn't have any income and you were struggling the most. It's wonderful.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing.
So how did you decide to start your own business, Bossy Girl Leadership? And how did you make the decisions on what it should focus on and how to get started?
Well, it's funny because, as I told you at the start, I believed it was always my destiny to do what I'm doing now. What happened, though, in the process of learning my own power and my own courage, I knew it was time to follow my destiny. And though it was scary, nothing could be scarier than trying to earn your life back. And I did that. So it was this realization that I can do this too. And what an amazing thing, an amazing gift. And I just decided to embrace everything that I am and everything that I knew I was going to be. And I created Bossy Girl Leadership. And even in choosing such a controversial name, I can't help but say every time I tell people that the name of my company is Bossy Girl Leadership and I'm Kristal, the Bossy Girl, they giggle every time. But what's amazing about that is my entire life, I was the bossy girl. I was that girl that people would point at and say, she's just a little bit bossy. She's pushing the edge just a little too much. I was that girl. And when I named my company Bossy Girl Leadership, I was not only taking my life back from this recovery and this accident, but I was also taking my power back and saying, you know what, I might be a little bit bossy, but because of that, I am going to be a boss that is going to change the world. And we can all try to be politically correct, but my belief is that if we are authentic and we are truly who we are, and we come at the world with our best, then we are going to give more than we could ever even know. And I'm okay if that means being the bossy girl. I like the giggles. They empower my heart and remind me of that little girl, 4 years old, saying, I'm going to be an inspirational speaker. And not everybody can understand that at first glance. I mean, in this day of ban bossy, and people just are not in a place where that word feels comfortable. Right. But I am okay with creating cognitive dissonance in people and making them feel uncomfortable, because that's where change is created. And that's where we grow. And that's where we make our perspective bigger. And I think I do that with every touch point and every connection I make with the people's lives that I impact.
It's awesome that you're reclaiming the word bossy and kind of redefining it or changing the stigma around it by saying that's what I've always been and it's not a bad thing. In fact, it's the thing that got me through hell and got me to the point where I am. So I'm going to use that strength and help people. That's great.
That's right.
So as you started to build and grow your business, how did you build it around your strengths and your limitations?
Well, it's funny because whenever I started Bossy Girl Leadership, I knew that I had a skill to be able to connect with people differently and deeply and make them believe in themselves more than they ever had. I knew that I had the ability to tell people the truth with love and have them hear that in a way that they weren't able to hear it from anybody else. I knew that I could go into an organization that people didn't enjoy working for and make it an organization that people wanted to go to, and build leaders that people want to follow. Not just somebody with power and a big stick, but somebody that people will walk across hot coals for, even if they don't have to. And I knew I could do that, and I knew it was a skill that the world needed. The challenge at that point was, though, I had lost that. building Bossy Girl Leadership was basically based on the faith that it would come back to me. Mm-hmm. That when I started trying again, it would happen again. And I put all of my faith in the fact that this was my purpose. This was my life. I had everything to lose, my home, everything. I had nothing at this point. I had gone an entire year without pay. And I just believed that it would come back to me because that just is how it had to be. I had to get bossy at that point and say, this is who I am. This is what's going to happen. And I'm accepting nothing less than that. Mm-hmm. So the limitations and strengths when I built Bossy Girl Leadership, I didn't even know what they were yet. And I had to start walking into organizations that already knew me, already loved me, were willing to support me, and had even seen me through my recovery to some degree, and know that they would love me even if I messed up, even if I had to say, you know what, at this point, I have to stop because I didn't know. I mean, I could get in front of a group and pass out, or crazy things could have happened. Right. But I just had the faith that this was how it had to be.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So I'm curious about something. Since you started your business, have you had any experiences where you were working with a company and you made a breakthrough or had a success with them that was different than what you normally would have expected a few years before in your work?
I think that the thing that is most different is that before I started Bossy Girl Leadership, a lot of the work that I did was based on the fact that I had to make my division and my company successful. So I did what it took to make a buck. Mm-hmm. Now I know that I can go with nothing. I can make it, and that tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm still going to be who I am, even if I haven't made that big paycheck, mm-hmm. and that I'm okay with that. I'm actually better with that than I was with who I was before. Mm-hmm. And so what has happened in that is that the relationships that I've built with the clients that I have are so incredibly deep. I'm not an HR consultant, but they call me and they say, I am going to hire someone and I can't do that without your blessing. Would you stand beside me in this process and make sure that I hire the right person for this team? Because we are going to be working with you as soon as we get them on board to make them a part of our team, to make them part of who we are, and to have them driving towards the mission as hard as everybody else is here. And you did that. So we want you to be a part of growing the team. And I have become not just a consultant, but a part of the family for the people that I work for and work with. They're my best friends. They're my confidants. I see them through everything, and they want my input, even if it isn't necessarily my specialty, which I didn't see that as much in the past. The other thing is that because of the tools I had to create through all of my therapies, I have created a much more logistical approach to what I do and being able to explain it to other people. It can be really confusing when you say, you know, I'm a consultant and I build leaders and I build healthy organizations. Well, what does that really mean? So I actually created a system, and there's 7 steps towards designing a healthy organization. Mm-hmm. And we go through step 1 and we talk about, this is what this is. You have to know your mission and purpose first. And we go to step 2 and we look at step 2, knowing yourself and your people. And what does that mean? And how are we doing in that arena? And I've actually designed a system that gives them a score at the end to say, okay, this is how well we're doing. We're at a 73 out of 100. Is that good enough? Are we okay with that? No, we're not okay with that. What would it take to get to a 95? What kind of things are involved there? And in the past, I was really just someone who would come in with charm and charisma and show you how much I care. But there was no system involved. And really, if somebody else would have to explain what I did for a living, they would have no idea. And now, because I know what it is to not understand, I break things down more simplistically, and I make them into a system, and I make them into steps to keep me on track, as well as to keep others on track that are working with me. And it seems to work out really, really well.
I see. So can you tell me a little bit about the types of services that Bossy Girl Leadership offers?
Sure, absolutely. Well, going into an organization, our first goal is always to strive towards a healthy organization. That is the main mission of what we do. Now, the result of seeing how healthy you are and what help you possibly need can always be different depending on the organization. And the result may be training. The result may be sometimes people just want me to tell my story or tell their story and get people reconnected to the mission. We develop missions. I may, as I said before, help you with finding the right people for your team or getting the right people on the right seats in the bus. Because so often we know we like this person, but they're just not working where we have them right now, and we need to fix that. I do that. We look at understanding how others perceive us using things like 360 assessments and knowing our people, looking at our personality styles. One of the most amazing things that has been transformational for me and organizations that I look at and work for is understanding people's motivation. What makes them tick? And we dive into that. We do team building workshops where literally we're doing trust falls and climbing telephone poles and helping each other to do that together. It can be unbelievable to see what people are capable of when you take them out of their normal everyday settings. We do field trips and we look at leadership styles of leaders of the past, walking through battlefields, things like that. Whatever it is that team specifically needs is what we do. And I don't focus on, well, these are the services I provide and here's the list, because I don't want people to call me necessarily and say, you know, can you just do this 30-minute keynote speech at our annual meeting? Can I do that? Absolutely. Would I love to do it? Sure. But how I'll really make a difference and what my purpose is to come into your organization and grow the health of your organization. And the tools that will be used will be different depending on where the root problem is.
Wonderful. That's great. You really have this holistic approach. You know, it's not just leadership development and building teams. It's really coming in and helping companies and leadership do whatever they need to either fix current issues or get to the next level. That's great.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Yeah, it is. I love what I do. It's truly an honor for me to be able to be a part of it.
Right. That's wonderful. What did you learn about yourself from going through this experience?
Absolutely. I made a list because I think that this, again, is the most important thing that I could ever share with walking through this experience. What did I get when I took those notes walking through hell? And these are the notes that I have. Find your purpose and go after it. I truly believe that each one of us has a purpose, and deep down, we know what it is. We might be afraid of it. We might think we're not enough, but it's there and we can go after it if we want to. The next thing, everything could be gone tomorrow. The irony of my accident was that all of my greatest gifts were taken from me. And I had to fight to get them back, but everything could be gone tomorrow. You could be gone tomorrow. Don't take anything for granted. When someone's being annoying, be excited that you get to be here and experience that. When your child is being challenging, man, isn't it amazing that I get to see their experience of learning their boundaries? Find a way to be grateful. There's something to be grateful for in every experience. Do good and give it all. I have people that count the clock, count the hours they're at work. And, you know, whenever it's 30 minutes till it's time to go, they're counting it down and it's 29 and it's 28. Don't do that. Give your heart, give everything you have. My next is my favorite, I think. Love hard with no regrets. Wow. So love with everything you have and know that the people in your life are going to fail you. They could fail you terribly, significant others, children, friends. They could fail you in ways that I can't even fathom, but know that that's shame on them, not shame on you. You love with your best every single day, and you'll never, ever regret that. Don't ever, ever quit. There's no place for quitting. You are enough. You are always enough. Follow. Find somebody that has a strength that you don't have, has achieved something that you'd like to achieve. Associate yourself with them and follow them with all of your heart. Give them everything that you can. Learn everything that you can. Don't think that you have all the answers because you really, really don't. Life goes on without your resume, without money, and without things. Before my accident, I evaluated myself and my success by what I had, by knowing that my credit score was good enough, how much money I made, if my house was good enough, if it was clean enough, whatever it was. That's how I evaluated my worth. And after this, I realized that, you know what? Every day I wake up in the morning and it doesn't matter how much money I've made. What matters is how much impact I've had on the people around me. So really think about how you're evaluating yourself and your worth. When you can only handle the next second, you can't even think about what the next minute is going to bring. Just put one foot in front of the other. The next one, don't let fear control you. Fear will get in your way of your dreams and your purpose, and there's so much more out there for you. And my favorite one, and my mom would call me and tell me this nearly every day, and it's so silly, but don't let the turkeys get you down. Those are the notes I took.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing that with our listeners. It's really inspirational words and great advice that comes from going through the experience itself and really being reflective. And as you said, going through hell and taking notes. So thank you for sharing that great gift with our listeners. Is there anything else that you'd like our listeners to know or anything that they can help or support you with?
Well, I guess what I would say is I am in the process of leading what I believe is a movement of love. And if you in your organization or you as an individual realize that you're not where you need to be, you have excessive turnover, you have infighting, you have people that come to work as machines and don't love what they do, or if that's you, I'd love the opportunity to help and assist you. If it would help in any way for me to share my story with your group, I would be happy to do that. If you're looking for a speaker or if you're looking for someone to make your organization more healthy, I would be happy to help you. And I truly believe that it's my gift to be able to be there and support you through that process.
Wonderful. And if people would like to take you up on your offer of help, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
You can reach out to me however you're most comfortable. My email address is Kristal, Kristal, @bossygirl.org. My phone number, if you're more comfortable with a personal conversation, please call me. You can call me at 717-460-4795. You can also connect with me on media like LinkedIn. And my name is Kristal, Kristal, last name Murren, Murren.
Perfect. And do you do engagements locally or nationwide?
Most of the in-depth work that I've done is in the Mid-Atlantic region. So we are looking at the DC, Pennsylvania, Harrisburg, New York areas for extensive work. I have traveled nationwide in order to do speaking events and things of that nature and would be happy to do that at any point in time. The other option is if we are comfortable with a relationship on things like Skype, we can communicate that way in order to grow your business as well.
Well, thank you so much, Kristal, for sharing your story. It's really inspirational. It's just wonderful to hear real life examples of people who, you kind of have everything and then you go through a major, major challenge and you come out the other side and you find gifts and wonderful things that you never would have found otherwise. And I really appreciate you sharing that story with us. And I'm excited to see how your business continues to grow. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Carolyn. It was awesome.
Thanks for listening to the Beyond 6 Seconds podcast. Please subscribe to the show in iTunes or your favorite podcast player so you won't miss any episodes. You can also find all the show notes and links we discussed in this episode at our website, www.beyond6seconds.com. Until next time.